show. We're like, we love Barbara Stanwyck.
We're live, Joe.
Hey, everybody.
Joe's back, boys and girls.
That's right, man. I just, this other project, I'm trying to drill in and focus on it. And whenever I get ready for the show, it just sort of blows it the other direction. I'm blowing wide out to see what's interesting. I just need to stay focused. So,
yeah.
Apologies for that short term. I'm sure everybody enjoyed I heard a stellar guest, and the lovely Mr. Nickel here. Always a joy to chat with.
Wow, Joe wants something. Yeah, it was a good show. We got a guest today too.
Bravo.
Sam from Sturdy Finance. So we're gonna find out what they do, what it's all about, et cetera, et cetera. Looking forward to it. It's funny because I get outreach constantly from people, wanting me to pay. They want to pay me for a tweet, or they want to, book the show.
Really?
What about?
How come I don't see any of that money?
Because none of the money's coming in. I don't take it. I mean, I do offer them all. If they want to do a sponsored episode where it's clear that it's sponsored and it says that it's a sponsored episode, I'm happy to chat with friggin' anybody if they want to pay me. And the audience knows that it's sponsored, but so far nobody takes that. Now I may be, jacking the price up a bit just to get rid of the shitty, shilly, scammy shit. But
you cut it down to like 45 grand already, right?
Yeah. Well, what do you want? It's on sale. We're in a bear market. I'm trying to be cheap, but they're just not biting. So
don't
anyway,
brand perception by lowering the price.
Yeah. And then there are teams that do things professionally. They do things the right way. They talk about, they get it. They go look at the show, Mission DeFi or this one, and they say, well, what's it about? What's the priority? And I'll get outreach from PR firms pretty frequently with guests. And, I turned one down yesterday because I didn't feel like there was anything interesting or innovative.
No, they're there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're there. It was another centralized exchange trying to bridge to DeFi. There was no innovation. Their volume wasn't even listed on CoinMarketCap. So it's like I'm just not gonna.
You didn't tell them about our central exchange escrow fund service that we have down in Panama?
There you go. But I did tell them, look, if you guys want to do a sponsored show, I'll do a sponsored show.
Yeah.
But they don't bite. So, and that's cool. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I want legitimately good things on the show. And, Cassandra yesterday from Maracas was fantastic. Just that platform is very cool. And you know how much I love gelato. So that was great too. So,
yeah, no, I love gelato too, particularly chocolate.
You're such a freak. Did you get is this what happened? You got your prescription filled? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, I got my prescription filled.
Yeah. Well, you're in the Grove, so you've got all kinds of cannabis stores around there.
That kind of prescription. Oh,
yeah.
Right. No. Yeah. When it comes to grass, I say pass.
I see. So the Winklevi are being sued for having Bitcoin futures. They're being sued by the CFTC. Basically, they're saying that the staff at the company lied to the CFTC staff, I guess, about what they were launching. So,
how the fuck do you do that?
I mean, seriously, how do you do that, right?
And if you're CFTC, how do you not notice?
Exactly. They made false and misleading statements from July to December of 2017 about how this is how far behind regulators are. What are we, 5 years now? Almost 5 years behind? This is how long it takes them.
This is before that big run up in December 17. Yeah.
Can you imagine being an agent at the CFTC and working on this one fucking thing since July for 5 fucking years?
I have a feeling they just had it handed to them recently, though.
Maybe so.
I have a feeling there's just such incompetence. And I don't mean that in a
in a derogatory manner.
I mean it in a bureaucratic politics kind of way. There's just a lot of inertia to not do anything because you're getting paid no matter what. You don't have to go out and work for your food every day.
Right.
You know, your check just shows up, and they pretty much can't fire you unless you, I don't know,
Kill somebody.
public nudity at the office with a
Bring
felony
your pet
of
goat
some
in.
kind. Yeah.
Something.
So they don't really have it. So I think a lot of this is catch up and easy, low hanging fruit for fines and things like that.
So it looks like the lawsuit is about them misleading the CFTC about how they would prevent manipulation in Bitcoin prices that were to serve as a reference for the derivatives based on the cryptocurrency. Well, how the fuck is Gemini going to prevent the manipulation of Bitcoin prices?
Yeah. And if the CFTC is supposed to be the authority,
misled the regulator about its efforts to prevent people from trading against themselves.
So maybe wash trading?
I guess.
I mean, because I remember on some of those exchanges, I don't know if you can still do it, but
well, this is a futures contract, so it probably wasn't even at Gemini, right? It's on the CBOE.
Finance. Oh, okay. U.S. futures. I don't know how they would prevent. I mean, look, how do you prevent that? I mean, I can remember sitting there at unnamed exchange, basically buying the board or selling the board, and closing out my own positions at the same time,
right,
while I was just wiping it clean. So there was nothing that prevented me from trading myself to myself in the order books. So, and that was 2018-ish. So to me, I'm thinking that was probably, the norm back in 2017-ish.
Yeah.
That you could do that. But now this is, maybe they just said they had a plan in place to stop it and they didn't.
It's interesting.
But I also think, how do you, if you're the I'm not going to say self-appointed, but if you're self-anointing yourself as the expert in the space and the regulator, then how does someone deceive you?
Yes, that's
supposed
exactly
to be
it.
Smart as shit. And so
you're supposed to be dealing with this all the time, like other futures contracts that are going up to be traded. So what the fuck?
So how could they mislead you in how they provide that consumer protection?
Yeah,
it seems like whoever was the original sort of I don't know what analyst or whatever agent in charge of covering them who didn't really know what the hell they were doing. Sorry. It's 5-6 years ago. I'm sure they're the smartest person in the world now.
So New York State decided they want to run off innovation and the developers in the space. I saw a company yesterday talking about 150 people. They're going to be moving out of the state because they're banning Bitcoin mining. So, just more.
Well, where are they?
Knee-jerk stupidity.
I mean, I get it in Texas how you can get the cheap power, but why would someone set up in New York?
Maybe they were on most likely because they were using something renewable or they were using hydroelectric, right? I mean, that's why you'd be there, right? So those people will get run out because it's a sweeping you can't mine Bitcoin here. I saw some comments today on Twitter that are true. Like, essentially, they are regulating the use of computational power, right? They are saying you can't use your computer for this. Now, I'm sure the argument is, well, harms the environment, blah, blah, blah. But it's just short-sighted. I mean, my argument, Joe, is that a profit motive will lead to more renewable energy than everybody wringing their hands and hoping, we'll solve the climate problem. Yeah.
Did it specifically say, I was curious, does it say banning like proof of work tokens, or they specifically say all crypto?
Let's see. It says, this article, who knows if the bill actually says this, but this article says to ban. Okay, well, I'm wrong about the renewable and the hydroelectric. It says ban certain Bitcoin mining operations that run on carbon-based power sources.
Okay. So probably the stuff that you mentioned is probably where it's
okay.
all driving toward. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of those wind farms, you know, upstate New York, you know, you could have, you know, it's cold as shit up there. And so you could have barns and stuff or whatever, dungeons or something, whatever you would call it, basements. We
Right.
don't have those down here in South Florida. So I was grappling for that word. With Bitcoin rigs in it running, you know, and it wouldn't run hot. And you could have a bunch of not solar, but, you know, wind turbine stuff up on top. And I think you could sell back into the grid there too already, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. So
a
proof of work mining company, unless a proof of work mining company uses 100% renewable energy. Now that gets
murky.
Like, okay, so you have renewable energy for your mining facility, but what if you have an office that doesn't use, you know, that's on the grid because it's in a fucking commercial office building, right? Are you not allowed to operate? It says they would not be allowed to expand or renew permits, and new entrants would not be allowed to come online. So I don't know. Look, I mean, doesn't sound so bad as I was making it out to be, but at the end of the day, the more Bitcoin miners that are making less money because they're using, you know, traditional power sources that are carbon based, the more likely they are to invest on renewable energy. And when you shut down their ability to do it, it's just going to go elsewhere, right? It's not going to reduce the overall impact on climate change. It's just going to have them move out of the country or into another state where they can get cheap electric. So I would say that the better bet is, hey, why don't we incentivize Bitcoin mining operations that employ hundreds of people to start building renewable energy sources, right? Wouldn't that be, you know, a solution?
Yeah.
I'm all
also no, but also they can do you know, I guess to me, I'm like, why not just give the incentive of go mine Bitcoin any way you possibly can? And it's, you know, tax free or something like that. So you bring all those jobs, because you aren't going to be able to you can only compete on margin. Okay. So, i.e., the cost to mine a block versus the price you get for it. And if your electricity costs are significantly higher, let's say, than others, you are going to get competed out of the market.
Exactly.
And so I would think anybody running on non-renewable is going to be more costly.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So the market forces, as you say, will then create the desired effect.
Right.
You know, which is shitloads of jobs, shitloads of mining, and most of it on renewable.
Right. And it'll probably lead to new tech and new innovation.
Yeah.
In renewable and in battery storage, power storage, and everything else. Chuck says, sounds like some Elizabeth Warren staffer passed this silliness to the New York State legislature. Yeah, I can guarantee it.
I heard of, speaking of your girlfriend, your cougar crush, we'll call her.
Oh, kill me. Just kill me now.
Yeah, I bet you never thought you'd be in that target set again. You know, the cougar targets.
Yeah, no.
But there was something about I don't know if you've been tracking this. It was a lawyer friend, and she was saying that there's some kind of policy statement or FAQ or guidance that came out of, like, what's the Consumer Protection Bureau or whatever, the one that talked about retail wallets and crypto. I don't know if we've talked about this or if you've tracked this at all, but there's supposedly, we have a guest, I forgot. There supposedly is a big exposure issue there on non-custodial wallets that she thinks is coming up, but we'll save that for another show.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our guest, Mr. Sam Foreman from Sturdy Finance. Sam, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
hey,
glad to have you. So why don't you quickly give us an introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you ended up in crypto, and then kind of tell us the origins of Sturdy and what you guys are building and creating, and we'll take it from there.
Sweet. Yeah, let's do it. So my academic background's in cryptography. I've been studying it since high school and then up through part of college. And so I really got interested in it, for the tech. And at first I was a little bit abrasive towards crypto. I didn't like that it stole cryptography's namesake. But I kind of I came around to it over time when in DeFi summer, kind of seeing some of the really cool financial applications and realizing the potential, like so many other folks.
Sure.
At the time, I was studying math and CS at Stanford. Decided to drop out during COVID. Did a couple different random things. I was an intern at McKinsey, and then worked at an autonomous trucking company called Too Simple. And then
Nice.
decided that I wanted to start something for myself. And I had this interest in cryptography. I was kind of like a user of DeFi protocols and had some sense of gaps in the market. And so that's how Sturdy came about. And Sturdy is the first protocol for interest-free borrowing and high-yield lending. So here's how it works. It's a two-sided money market. You can think of it kind of like Aave or Compound from the user experience perspective. But what makes us different is that we stake the collateral provided by users. So let's say that you're going to borrow USDC against your ETH. What we're going to do when you deposit your ETH is stake it in Lido, and then periodically harvest those staking yields and distribute them to lenders, right? So just to like repeat that, you're providing some collateral. We stake it in a third-party protocol like Yearn, Convex, or Lido. We then harvest those staking yields. And then for stablecoin lenders, right, the folks who are depositing stablecoins into the protocol to earn yield, the interest that they're earning primarily comes from that collateral staking.
Oh, nice. So essentially, when they're lending, are the loans themselves interest free or?
Yes. So usually the only exception being when utilization is greater than 90%, then interest rates kick in to ensure that there's like a sufficient liquidity.
Okay, so essentially, you're taking. If I need a loan, I deposit my ETH, and I have something under 90% utilization of the value of the ETH. Then I'm not getting charged interest. I get the loan of the people that are loaning the USDC or whatever I want, and then the people who are lending to me are collecting the 4 to 7% on the staking that you're doing in Lido, or I'm assuming, are you going to be adding other chains, proof of staking to the equation?
Yeah, so we actually launched on Fantom 2 months ago.
Oh, nice.
Have grown to 20 million TVL and are launching on Ethereum mainnet today.
Congratulations!
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And what's really neat. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So what's really neat is that not only can we use like native proof of staking derivatives like Anchor and their model, but we also have expanded to protocols like Convex and Yearn, where users can provide, for example, Curve LP tokens, or even like on Fantom, we support like Curve and Spell. Like you can just provide those as collateral, and we'll stake it in Yearn. And so we can expand the collateral pool beyond just pure proof of stake assets.
So the earnings could be potentially higher because it's providing liquidity, potentially maybe yield farming, whatever. So the people that are lending are just collecting on the staked tokens of the people who are borrowing. That's actually a really, really cool model. So 20 million TVL on Fantom. Now on Fantom, are we talking about, are people people borrowing against Fantom? Are they borrowing against WETH? What are the wrapped Ethereum? What's available?
Yeah, so it's overwhelmingly Fantom. We support some other assets, including Curve, Link, Spell, FBeats, Boo, and I believe that's it. But on Ethereum mainnet, we're going to support ETH or STETH. You can kind of select which one. And then we will also be supporting a whole host of Curve LP tokens as well. So initially Frax, and then we're rolling out partnerships with a bunch of other folks there as well.
Oh, wow. So you guys are really ramping up rapidly. How long have you been at building the project?
Yeah, so we started in August 2021.
Nice. So that's some serious work you've been putting in.
Yeah, it's been great. Super fun experience, like building out a team, fundraising. My background is as a developer, as I mentioned, like very technical. And so, going deep on like the business side and marketing has been really fun.
That's awesome. How many people on your team so far?
We have 7 right now.
Okay. All right. That's a good sized team. Did you guys raise a round beforehand?
We did, yeah. So we raised 4 million, led by Pantera, and then also including Y Combinator, SoftBank, MGNR, KuCoin, and a handful of others.
Nice. So right now, if I wanted to lend, I could deposit USDC and collect 5.59% interest.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We were averaging like 10 to 15% for
Wow.
the duration we've been online. Year APYs have like gone down quite a bit for a couple of reasons, but yeah, we're historically we've been higher, and we have some strategies in line to get back there.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think everyone right now is kind of at the accepting that our yields are not going to be as significant as they've been in the past.
Yeah, no more 20% anchor, which actually it makes our lives easier, not having like, but yeah,
not having anchor protocol competing at 20%.
Yeah, like every single time we're talking to a prospective user, it's like, well, I can earn 20% in anchor, and my response could be, maybe that's not sustainable, but that a lot of folks didn't find that compelling, and so
what a shocker.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes our case a little easier.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So so Fantom mainnet today. That's great news. What other? These are the tokens that can be deposited now.
Yep.
Boo, Link, FBeats, Spell, and CRV, USDC, FUSDT. Awesome. That's awesome. I might have to just test here with my little test wallet later on and actually borrow against it just for fun. So,
awesome.
What's next for you guys? Where are you taking this from here?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So the first is continuing to expand chains. We're really excited about L2s, and so we're considering Arbitrum and a handful of others. The next big thing is a little bit technical. So right now, all of the yield from collateral is going to the lender, right?
Okay.
What we want to do is also give the borrower some of it. So let's say you're providing your Frax Curve LP. What we want to do is have you as the borrower also earn some of the CRV or CVX rewards from that convex staking too. And that's going to create some really interesting leverage strategies. So just quickly, let's say you're earning like 2% yield for providing your Frax Curve LP. What you're able to do is borrow USDC against that and loop to basically lever up and potentially 10x your yields on that. So in that example, it would be like 20% APY. You are taking on like liquidation risk, right? If Frax depegs, will get liquidated. But we're really excited to roll that out. And then have partners who can provide incentives on top to grow their curve pool. So really kind of like building up Sturdy as a new kind of front or like ammunition in the curve war is something that we're working on pretty heavily right now.
That's really interesting. I interviewed Scoopy from Alchemix last night, and a big part of every day of his life is managing their bribes and what they're doing in all of the liquidity wars. And that certainly sounds like something that treasuries might have an interest in as well, if you guys can really optimize that. So that's some pretty complex. I mean, look, there are other people doing kinds of automations and looped loans, but that gets to be fairly complex to set up and manage. And is that something you guys are close to providing, or is that down the line?
Yeah, it's our highest priority. It should be done within weeks.
I
absolutely,
nice.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the complexity, and that's why it's kind of nice that if you're maybe have a smaller position, can't spend so much on gas, you can just deposit your USDC and earn those staking yields. Whereas if you're maybe more advanced, can afford to spend a ton on gas, you can access what will likely be a larger APY, but more expensive to spin up and wind down leverage position.
Sure. And that'll, I assume, be launching on mainnet.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, will you do similar things with some of the liquidity stuff that goes on the other chains, on Fantom, et cetera?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what's awesome is that curve is on pretty much every chain that we're considering. And so being able to have that option, and what you said about working with treasuries is spot on. Like that is kind of on the BD side, a huge focus of ours. And we're working on some proposals now to do just that.
Very nice. Well, and if you guys can provide tools and potentially integrations that make it easier for those protocols. I mean, look, I mean, headache number one is or liquidity and treasury management, right? And so if you guys can provide tools or a dashboard or some level of integrations into what they already are using to manage that, that'll probably be a very big win.
Yep, 100%. And like just lowering the spend. You know, right now your project spending sometimes millions or hundreds of thousands every single week on building or maintaining their curve liquidity. And so
Yep.
because users can loop with Sturdy, right? Even a 1 or 2% incentive will go a really long way, because it will mean that the user earns 10 to 20% APY with max leverage. And so you
Right.
could see how like a pretty small emissions will get you much further with us. And that's really the pitch that we'll be making to different DAOs and treasuries in the next couple of weeks.
That's awesome. Do you imagine that you'll be, I mean, have you guys thought about like having direct integrations into places where people are going to want to have access to looping their funds in, right? So it's something that's just kind of automated and they can just click a Sturdy button and take advantage of that?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's kind of like the next step after just finishing out the development, to share some of that yield with borrowers, but improving the user experience, making it so that you can like zap in with any stablecoin and not need to actually have the Curve LP. Something I really like the way Abracadabra has done this, where you have like a little leverage slider. I think Maker does something similar. Something like that, where users can understand, okay, here are the risks, here's where I get liquidated, and just giving them that flexibility and you know, improving the UX, it would be huge.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of, I just had a question and it went right out of my head. I don't know where it went. Well, I had another question. I'll ask it now, and then maybe that one will come back to me. How happy were your parents about you dropping out of Stanford, and do they understand what you're building?
To Well, okay, first question first. Not thrilled, for sure, but I think, you know, they have some trust in me, and you know, which
Good.
I'm certainly grateful for. And so yeah, you know, in terms of do they understand, to varying degrees. They a lot of times they'll be monitoring it and will like text me. They'll be like, "Oh, the TVL went up a lot today," which is you know,
Nice.
sweet.
Nice.
Yeah,
You got the parents tracking TVL. I love it.
exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Okay, I have totally lost the other question. Joe, do you have any questions for Sam?
Yeah. Hey, Sam. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Yeah, it's funny, the story. I can imagine your parents must have been thrilled when you told them you were dropping out of Stanford.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
doesn't.
It's I still get comments about it for sure. And to make
Yeah.
matters worse, my sister started going there too. So now it's you know,
So they got
she
their
has
dropout and
that
they got
over
the
me.
regular.
Right.
Hey, you know, I'm coming from a fan perspective of Fantom, but I was just curious, why did you pick Fantom for your first deployment?
Yeah, yeah, great question. A couple of reasons. I think one is low fees and high accessibility. You know, when we're going to launch on Ethereum, it's going to be somewhat expensive to interact with, like $20 to $50 at higher gas fees, depending on the specific interaction, which is just blocks a lot of people out. And so we want to start with somewhere where the fees are low enough that it's accessible to the vast majority of people. So that's one. I would say two is the yield that can be generated by collateral was previously really competitive. FTM was earning like 10% on Yearn for a long time. That has since decreased, which, you know, mitigates that to some degree. But I think still that having the fact that also it's proof of stake, you know, FTM can be staked, also serves as a benefit. And then third, I would say having other DeFi protocols that we can integrate with is huge. So like right now, Yearn really only has a presence on ETH mainnet and Fantom. There are a lot of other, I guess, yield farming, you could call them, protocols that are deployed exclusively on Fantom or just on Fantom and maybe one other chain. And so because having those partners that we can integrate with is so important, the fact that Fantom have them and has them is a huge draw for us.
Yeah. And so are you guys kind of in the midst of talking to those folks to do those integrations already?
Yep. So right now, I think I mentioned we're only using Yearn on Fantom, but we're
Right.
looking to expand to more assets and more partners. We've been really like heads down on ETH mainnet, but I think the new integrations on Fantom should be coming later this month, which should increase lending APYs and lower borrower APYs.
Cool. A year from now, you know, the market's recovered to some extent. Where do you want Sturdy to be? How many chains would you be on, or layer twos? And you know, what's mom going to tell you the TVL is this afternoon?
Yeah, you know, I really want us to become the dominant lending protocol across every chain, right? I think realistically, a year from now, I would love to kind of get to a similar adoption phase as like Anchor. Because if you look at Anchor, I know they had, you know, ignoring the UST and the yield reserve stuff, really their core innovation was their collateral staking, right? Like they did something kind of similar with bonded ETH and bonded Luna, and they were gonna, you know, I think AVAX they supported, where the mechanic was the same, right? Users supplied the staked asset, and then that staked asset generated yield that went to the lender. And so I think that was one thing that enabled them to have high APYs. If we can kind of capture that idea, right, and scale it to different chains, I think that there's a huge potential there. So yeah, I guess that's the main thing, right? Just like growing and becoming, you know, joining the blue chips, right? Kind of joining that conversation. And then also really focusing on integration. So when users interact with Sturdy right now, they're really only doing it from our web app. It would be great if we also integrated, for example, through Yearn or someone like that. So now not only are we sending like FTM traffic their way, they're sending stable volume our way. And that really comes from like time and security and proving that out over a course of months or years.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So one of our friends and listeners, Eamon, asks, what are the lending markets based on? Did you build your own, or is it Compound Ave clone?
Yep. So for some of like the internal record keeping and accounting, that was taken from Aave v2. It's really great code, audited a million times, and so it you know, reduces some of the smart contract risk. But then for this logic in terms of staking the collateral, harvesting it, distributing it, that was all custom, audited by Certic and recently Code Arena.
Nice. Very nice. He also said, brilliant idea to keep the collateral assets productive. Absolutely need something to stake a Curve LP into Convex. Haha, have considered building this since I want it so badly. Eamon works on a couple of projects as well. And, you know, he understands the pain of what we were talking about earlier. He said, totally makes sense. He loves it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, appreciate that. You know, it's one of those things.
That's high praise from Eamon.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally in the same boat where it's like, this is a thing that should exist and doesn't. And so let's build it. And yeah, you know, feel free to reach out, join the Discord if you have ideas. And like I said, we'll be launching on ETH mainnet today, and the yields will be very competitive early on since we bootstrapped some collateral. So it should be extremely competitive.
That's awesome. In terms of community, you know, how has that growth gone? And is this something you envision taking on a DAO structure at some point? Or is this something that, you know, that's not the plan?
Yeah, community building has been really fun. You know, doing events like these, internal events with our community. We do a ton of different contests, from like very complex yield strategies that users design to like meme art contests. So we really run a range of stuff. And we're going to have some really fun ones coming up too. I think in terms of the structure, yeah, 100%, like over time, we want to decentralize, go the DAO route. In the interim, you know, I will say that we don't have a token yet, and we've really been focused on building out, like demonstrating product market fit, and that we can successfully build and scale a lending protocol without incentives. Because one approach that I think a lot of protocols have taken is using incentives to build up their TVL without really validating that they have product market fit first. And so I think by avoiding that, kind of saying, hey, you know, this is a thing that works and that users want to use without needing the incentives would be huge, and it is something that I'm excited has gone pretty well so far.
Did you guys go through Y Combinator with this?
Yep.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. So I'm assuming that also led to all of these other like magnificently large investor names that are in your stable here. I ran a startup in .com invested in by SoftBank. So I have some experience there, but this is a really impressive list of investors. Did most of those contacts come via your Y Combinator experience, or were these contacts that you made elsewhere?
Yeah. Actually, I would just note that when we applied to YC, it was a different idea, and then we pivoted partway through. So it wasn't the one we were accepted with. Yes.
I mean, if you don't pivot at YC.
No, exactly. I just want to clarify that. And in terms of the contacts, it was a mix. Some of them were like through YC demo day. Some of them were after the fact. Yes, it was a little bit of both.
Did you guys see a lot of crypto projects coming out of Y Combinator? I haven't really taken a look lately at what comes out of Y Combinator. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's more and more. I mean, it might decrease as the market goes down. That won't surprise me, but it's certainly, there was a long time where there was like very few crypto projects. It was like OpenSea, Coinbase, NewCipher, Stacks, and maybe a handful of others. But now there are much more for sure, and less, I would say, DeFi protocols and more like Web3 kind of like infrastructure layer focused. Nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those are going to be the biggest plays during the bear market anyway, kind of those pieces of the puzzle. Cool. Well, I will put the website link and the Discord links in the show notes. Is there anything else we should know, or anything else people should be aware of about what you guys are doing or how to get engaged? Are you guys hiring?
Yeah. We're cool. Kind of like perpetually
Joe's going to send over his resume.
Nice. So if you want to get involved, like jump in the Discord. And we're always happy to chat with folks who are excited about what we're building.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Joe.
Sam, a quick question before we looks like Brad's getting ready to wind down, but I was curious about your round. Specifically, I mean, US regulatory market and all of that. I thought it's interesting how you basically don't have a token, but yet you're executing on, borrow lend strategies and did an awesome capital raise from blue chip names, but looked to be free and clear in, I'm not a lawyer, but looks to be free and clear, or at least doing it the right way for a US offering. And I'm just kind of curious, one, is the law firm you use public knowledge?
It might. I don't know if we've made it public. We went through Goodwin, which I think a lot of folks do.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was curious, what sort of, when you guys were, thinking the strategy through, what were kind of the, in general, I mean, this could be a whole show, I guess, but what were sort of like the top 3 things you kind of thought about in that process? For anybody listening that's thinking about doing their own thing right now, vis-a-vis regulatory token versus straight up raise.
Yeah, so we did a safe on so we did kind of a dual structure. We did a safe and then a token warrant. So we don't have a token yet. It's not to say we never will.
Right.
And so it's in general, like we kind of said, hey, we went to our lawyer, said here's what we want to do, and they were able to share with us some relatively boilerplate documents. So I would just say, talk to a lawyer, someone who has done this stuff before. They probably will have like seen something similar-ish to what you need. And I think what I would love to see for the industry is way more like open source, standardized templates for all the regulatory and legal stuff. Because we had to, pay a decent amount for a token warrant. Whereas the safe, which is a standard like equity thing for seed rounds, is like free. You can find it on the Y Combinator site. Everyone uses it outside of Y Combinator and internal, of course. So just something similar for crypto, I feel like would be huge. It's so needed because it is tough, like just going at it with a lawyer, as opposed to just like something that anyone can do for free.
Yeah, it stacks up quickly.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. All right, and who was the lead on that round? Was there an official lead, or was it just did you just bring everybody together?
Yeah, that was a Pantera.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, thanks.
Very nice.
Cool. Excellent.
All right, man. Anything else we should know? Sturdy.finance.
Yeah, check it out. We'll be updating the landing page today, and then of course the Ethereum mainnet launch in a couple hours. But otherwise, jump in the Discord. If you have questions for me, always around and answering those. And yeah, just thanks again for having me on.
Cool, man.
Thanks, Sam.
We'll tweet the show back out after I get it into the podcast feed, which is where most of our viewers and listeners are. And I'll be sure to tweet out that you guys are launching shortly on mainnet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, great, man.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sam.
it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good guy.
All right, Joe.
Man. Good guy.
Get that resume in.
Good guy. Good guy. No, they're all filled up with. If they've got Pantera leading and Goodwin, they're pretty much filled up with people like me.
Well, look, that's an impressive pedigree, I got to say. I mean, that's some serious backers. That's pretty cool. And the protocol looks nice. Look, I mean, there are a lot of lending protocols out there, and I really like the model of using the collateral for people to earn, right? So you're not dependent. You can keep attracting borrowers because you're not charging interest unless they really go to the high risk side of things. And at the same time, which is smart of them, right? It protects the lenders. It protects the protocol that if you're on the edge with what you're borrowing, then you're going to pay for it. So we can compensate if there's a massive dump or something rapidly. But at the same time, utilizing the collateral to make and incentivize people to lend is really smart. And I love the model they're headed to of, also paying out rewards to borrowers, right? I mean, if you could sweeten the pie, I'm not paying interest and I'm going to earn something from borrowing, and I can loop my borrowing in and integrate directly into other protocols. That's to me a really powerful model.
Yeah, I remember back. I haven't looked at this in a while, but like Geist and some of those platforms, I think even Aave, you got paid something to borrow on.
Sure.
But that was when everything was astronomical. The one thing I was going to say, I'm just looking at their website again, Sturdy, is that, because I was looking at it, it kind of has that Drupal look to it, like clean sort of boxes. But I'm getting that in contrast to like the Fantom brand. When you look at like Spirit and Spooky, which is one of the things that, I tend to not criticize, but, I like a professional, clean, minimalist look.
Well, and they're obviously going after that market. Like, it's clear that he wants a B2B play here. He wants treasuries. He wants institutional in. And so he's trying to make it look like we're rock solid, right?
Yeah.
We're here to take care of your money and help you have more of it.
Which I think is another good thing for Fantom.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if this is, because he's right, that's why when I asked about why Fantom, not because, I always look at Fantom or Polygon as sort of my thought process these days.
Right.
But Fantom, everybody, it just has I don't know, it just, to me, I guess it's faster, it's cheaper. And all the other things we talk about. It doesn't mean that there can't be 10 layer ones and layer twos out there. It's just, I think you get to a look like this website across Fantom, and all of a sudden, I don't even see this kind of a look in Polygon.
No. This is definitely, we want to look solid. We want to look institutional. We want to look
enterprise grade,
strong.
basically.
Just look at it. Look, they're very simple. Their messaging is awesome. It gets straight to the point. High stablecoin APYs, interest-free loans, and then backed by major fucking names in VC world. And then, audits, bug bounty, and then a 4-question FAQ. It doesn't get any simpler than this website, right?
Yeah.
And the interface itself on the I'm sitting here not sharing screen while talking about it as if I am sharing screen.
That's all right. I'm looking at the screen. So.
And
Oh wait, yeah, we have an audience too. I forgot.
Yeah, and the interface is also, kind of this solid, sturdy, conservative look to it. And I think it's smart. Like, it's a really smart strategy, and it couldn't be a smarter strategy for a bear market, right?
Click the deposit tab.
Okay.
See, I mean, look at that. That's just like boom.
I got 134 Fantom, Joe. I'm going to borrow against. Oh no, I don't want to. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to.
So what did you see? I guess. I mean, I think when I look at this and I compare it to say Aave, and I don't know, is Aave on Fantom yet? I don't think so, but Geist is. But I don't know what other. I think Curve, those kinds of things. But I look at it as sort of. I just don't. What do you see? I'm not trying to be rude, but do you see the big differentiator here, other than maybe enterprise grade, scalability, all of those?
Well, I mean, the differentiator to me is the way his strategy into treasuries and liquidity management and optimizing that is a big differentiator. The other big differentiator though is that if you're lending on this network, you're getting paid on initially staking strategies on Lido, but later, from what he's talking about, there could be some really significant returns from lending your money, like more than you would get by trying to charge interest. And you're going to get more people to come in and borrow from a platform that doesn't charge interest than you are from a platform that does charge interest. So I think that self-feeding mechanism is a really strong mechanism, because from my perspective, I want to be able to right away now today, would I lend here? I wouldn't out of the gate, because I know I can get the same returns, primarily basically the same returns if I just put my ETH in Lido. That said, if I'm sitting out of the game and I'm waiting out the bear market and I'm sitting on a bunch of USDC to see what happens with the market, well, shit, if I can lend here and earn what I would earn by buying ETH and staking it and not have the risk of a downgrade in price of ETH over that time, that's a pretty strong strategy. Now, the only weakness in that strategy is the smart contract risk for this platform potentially getting hacked, right? But the idea that I can be in USDC, I can lend it, I can earn what I would earn if I actually converted that to ETH. I don't have to worry about the price of ETH going down, and I'm still going to earn the same amount as if I put that USDC into ETH and then ETH into Lido. That's pretty compelling. And then as they increase the use of the collateral in other protocols, and yield farming opportunities and the convex and the curve wars, then that could be, you could see some really significant growth in what you're getting paid to lend your stable coins that are just sitting there anyway. So, and I think that's what he's talking about when he was talking about Anchor protocol. The downfall of Anchor is good for him, because at the end of the day, that was the thing he was competing against. I've got all this stable coins. I've got, $10,000 in USDC. I can put it to Sturdy and earn 5%, 5.5%, or I can put it into Anchor protocol and earn 20%, right? So that's what he meant that they were competing against. Well, now he's not competing against that. He's got a fairly strong return, and I eliminate the risk of buying ETH and staking it and the price of ETH going down, right? So I think that's pretty compelling. And then when they start adding other yields to that, that's going to be pretty powerful. So I actually think their timing is awesome. Launching mainnet in the middle of this bear market, nice conservative look and feel, feels secure, a model that pays me decently. I don't have to give up stable coins. I don't have to take a risk on market downturn. And, they have a compelling model for borrowers. And then when they start paying borrowers and extra yield for me, I think it's got potential.
So explain to me, just so I didn't miss something here, how it's protecting against an ETH price downturn.
So if I'm a lender, or if I'm potentially a lender, I'm sitting on $10,000 in USDC, right?
Okay.
If I want to earn 4.5%, 5% staking on a proof of stake network, like on Lido for Ethereum, I've got to go sell that USDC for Ethereum.
Go buy some ETH. Okay.
And then I got to go stake it.
Right.
Now I'm going to earn 4.5% more ETH while it's staking, adding to the ETH I have, which is decent insurance. But if ETH drops down to $600, right, I've lost all the value in the ETH that I currently have staking in the liquidity at Lido, right? Whereas this way, I've got USDC. I deposit the USDC here. Somebody borrows the USDC. I'm still earning the same amount, that 4.5%, 5.5% that Sturdy is paying me, because they're taking the Ethereum that somebody puts in for debt and they're staking it in Lido, right? So when they stake it in Lido, the protocol's earning whatever they're earning, 4.5%, 5%, and then they're giving that to me for lending my USDC. So I never had to buy Ethereum. I'm getting the value of earning what I would earn if I did stake Ethereum, and I don't have to worry about a downturn in the price of Ethereum.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it in comparison to, say, the Alchemix model, where, or any of these like Aave, where, you deposit it in there and borrow against it, your stablecoin borrow at whatever, 50% or 80% or 70, whatever you're comfortable with. And then if ETH goes to zero, you kind of had that hedge there of the 50% or the 70%, assuming you still are holding it or took it to dollars or whatever, where you can't, you basically put a floor in of what ETH can do.
Right. But that's the borrowers.
Well, yeah, but you still deposited. So you lent as well.
Right.
Okay?
Now,
you lent and then borrowed on the lending.
No, you're depositing as a borrower, you're depositing it as collateral, right? And then they're at Sturdy, they're using that collateral to stake on Lido.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about Alchemix. I'm sorry. But
I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying.
No, because I look at Alchemix like a way where I'm just trying it sounds to me like they have a similar technique here is what I'm getting at, but it's more on the debt side of things in a way that I hadn't thought about before. And that's what I find it intriguing. Yeah. So, my thinking on Alchemix, that if you got 10 million in, we'll pick a number, you got $1 million in BTC or ETH, you go deposit at Alchemix, you borrow, say 70% on it. If then that ETH or whatever you deposited goes to zero, you still have your 70% in stable or whatever you did with it at that point. So it's a hedge for you. So no matter what happens in the apocalyptic scenario, I mean, barring all kinds of other issues that could come up, you still have 70% of that value.
Right.
And what I'm getting at with Sturdy is that, do you see that being the same? So say ETH goes to zero, you're still holding the stable coins, or have you spun those back into LP tokens and other protocols? So it probably gets broken at that point.
So two scenarios. So the person borrowing, right, could use the same strategy you just talked about, right? It is yes, I'm going to deposit my ETH. I'm going to borrow 70% against my ETH, right? And that's the floor that I have for the Ethereum price, right? Which is what you were getting at. So I can do that as a borrower here, and that makes total sense. Now, later on, when they add the ability that I'm going to actually earn as a borrower, that's even better, right? Now I have my floor price, like you're talking about, I'm hedging. And at the same time, maybe I'm earning a couple of points on what I have in there. And then the other side of it is the people lending. When you're lending, you're depositing a stable coin. So DAI, USDC, USDT, whatever it is, right? So you deposit that stable coin. If you had $1 million in USDC, right, and you were just sitting on it because you're worried that the market's going to drop to 600 for ETH, normally maybe you'd be somebody that would invest in ETH, but you're waiting for the bottom, right? You can lend it now. You can lend it with them, and you're going to earn 5.5%. I can earn, I got USDC. I can earn 5.68% annually. I'm sorry, 5.59% annually, instead of buying Ethereum and risking a downturn in the price, right? I could have taken my $1 million, bought $1 million worth of ETH, put it in Lido and earned 4.5%, 5%, right? But now I'm at risk for the Ethereum dropping in price. But this way I get to stay in stables. I don't have any price risk with what will happen to Ethereum, right? And I'm still going to earn as much or more on my money than I would staking on Lido.
Just
see what
because
I mean?
we're starting from stablecoin, whereas in my Alchemix example, I'm starting from ETH.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your scenario absolutely works for people borrowing on Sturdy. And the way I'm talking about it is the people that are lending on Sturdy. So both sides of the coin are still available there. Absolutely.
No, that
all right,
makes
Joe, I got to wrap it up, buddy.
Yep. Cool, man. Hey, good show. Good show.
Thanks, everybody. I've got a weekly 1 o'clock I break away for here, but appreciate everybody listening. Thank you, Sam Foreman, for coming on and telling us about Sturdy. Sounds like an exciting protocol. I'm going to put links to their entire Discord, their website, their documentation, etc., in the show notes. But go check them out. Tell them DeFi Lunch sent you in the Discord, and look forward to talking to everybody and seeing everybody Monday. Thank you for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Please, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you use, subscribe, rate, and review us. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, please share it. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to click the little bell if you do subscribe so you get alerted when new episodes come out. Joe, I've got a big queue of Mission DeFi episodes coming. I think most of my weekend is going to be that and Honeydew projects. So
sounds fabulous.
It's going to be a gangbang weekend.
Real barn burner over at the Nickel household.
That was a really bad term.
Gangbanger weekend. Yeah, that's not good.
Banger weekend.
Oh.
I need a guy with a button to censor me sometimes, probably.
No, I think most people know that, when you say words that are bad now, not out of malice, it's technically forgivable or okay. But, it's when you use those words in a pejorative way that is where we get into trouble. So,
yes. Well, I just didn't want to bring about, the old memories of the street gangs you were in. So
I know when I grew up in Brazil, in the favelas. Yeah, that was me. Reminds me of a great movie, City of God, I think.
I did not see it.
Oh, weekend movie deal for everybody. City of God, Brazilian favela story. Awesome.
All right, Joe, have a good one.
All right, buddy. Have fun this weekend and
take care, everybody.
Bring that list on Monday so we can see what you got done for your honeydews.
I'll make sure.